really my very favorite weapon from the whole Man-at-Arms series is this katana. The lightsaber katana. It was in the first season. It was one of the very first episodes that we did. You know, I grew up as a kid, fairly young in the 70s when Star Wars came out. It had a really big impact on what was a tiny nerd culture at that point in time. There weren't a whole lot of us, and we didn't even know that many people who were into the things that we were into. And this was, you know, Star Wars was something that really brought us all together. Now, I know there's a lot more lore, there's a lot of lightsaber stuff, there's a lot of more information on the vibroblades and all the different things, and certainly with the addition of The Mandalorian, all of that stuff is talked about more. When we made this weapon, there wasn't anywhere near the level of excitement for Star Wars across the board as there is today. So it's really fascinating to me. You know, there's so much more lore and so much more information and so many different variations of these weapons that people are familiar with now. Early on, you know, it was a lightsaber, it was a power weapon, but there hadn't really been anything like it in any of the culture interests that we have, you know. And so it was still a sword. So that iconic shot that you see where Luke Skywalker is holding, you know, like on the cover, the movie cover from the, you know, from the posters, and he's holding that sword aloft. We don't think of that as a lightsaber, as a power weapon. We thought of it as a sword. So it was very easy for me to kind of visualize the katana blade fit into this weapon. You know, Sam made this blade. The hamon is beautiful going down the blade, very nicely finished. As we worked through this, we worked pretty much from the things we had in the shop. It wasn't something where we really pre-planned a whole lot ahead of time. It was our first season. You know, this was 6 episodes being made concurrently when we had never really made any episodes before. So all of these components are steel. Looks great. At the time, it was owned by Defy Media, the people who owned Man-at-Arms. So this weapon went to LA and we never saw it again. During the Art of War negotiations, when we were making the television series, one of the things that we negotiated was the return of some of the weapons that we really wanted. Some of them for resale. They were big Damascus swords and they were just sitting in an office in LA and nobody really cared about them. But some of them were the weapons that we really wanted back for ourselves. And this, for me, this was really kind of the number one that I wanted to have come back. So we're going to make some of these for sale because, you know, we own the design for this, with the exception of the guard, obviously, because that's not our design. But we'll go through and we'll either be making these components in titanium or in aluminum. This weapon weighs basically 2 kilos, so it's just about 4.5 pounds. So it's fairly heavy for a sword this size. But almost all of that weight is here rather than in the blade, because the blade is a classically made katana blade and it has very little weight, probably weighs less than a pound. So when we make these again, we'll make some more of these. We'll change all of these fittings over to aluminum where we can, really take a lot of weight out of the final piece. Visually, it'll be very close. Actually, with aluminum, we'll be able to color it, which would be kind of neat, be a little more modern take like you can see in The Mandalorian. Once again, this is like every time I look at this weapon, it just takes me back to the very beginning of Man-at-Arms. Such a crazy time for us where we were just kind of learning this whole industry. And Sam was doing some katanas, but only a little bit. But if you go back, we'll put a link where you can go right to this episode to look at it, and you'll realize that that Ilya is just kind of a helper in this episode. He had never done any work like this before. So as you watch through the series, you really can go from the very beginning when his skill set with swords was, I wouldn't say it's non-existent. He was, he was a skilled maker, but it really wasn't there with the Japanese pieces. And we start with this one and move forward, and you'll see this huge progression with Ilya as he really learns this craft, and continues to make the swords right up through like the Kill Bill katana, where we make that directly from the same kind of material that you would see an original Japanese sword made. We'll definitely continue to make this kind of stuff, and these are going to be something that we do have available for sale in the future. You'll see them at Renaissance festivals, you'll see them at Cult of Athena, you'll see them at Dark Age Creations and a couple other stores we're working with. And we'll definitely have some on our Facebook, so make sure you are subscribed on the Facebook so that you see those when they come up for sale. I love it. I know that a lot of you love it. Hopefully we can put some in your hands. Thank you. Click the logo to subscribe or click one of the videos to see more here on the Baltimore Knife and Sword channel, or go to Almi and watch Man at Arms.